Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 14 of the Just One In podcast. My name is Elizabeth Zimmerman, but you can call me Liz. I am coming to you from Cochranville, Pennsylvania, where I live with my husband, Greg, our two children, Eric and Tilda, and our dog, Millie. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Algebrina. And there is a Ravelry group for the podcast called the Just One In podcast group. I think that's the whole spiel. So a couple of things right off the bat. Obviously, it's been several weeks since I podcasted last. I did announce a giveaway last time. I intended to record this podcast within the past week so I could remind you of the giveaway, but now it's actually over because today is the 30th of November, which is when I said I would send put the giveaway through to. And I just went ahead and picked a winner. I'm pretty sure, it's like 20 minutes to midnight, so I'm pretty sure nobody else is going to comment. So I did pick a winner, so we have a winner to announce there. But otherwise, that's going to be it for giveaways this year. We'll probably start up something in the new year with maybe a knit along or something. I'll put some thought into it over the next month or so. But, so I will announce that at the end of the episode. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I made a lot of notes, but I don't know how well I'll go through them because 3 weeks is a long time to, try and recap everything that happened. So anyway, honestly, not a ton has happened in the last 3 weeks. Obviously, Thanksgiving happened for those of us in America. I hosted this year. My in-laws came over, my husband's parents and his sister. One of his two sisters, his other sister lives in Thailand, so she didn't come for Thanksgiving. They came over and we just had a nice meal, hung out, played some games, did a puzzle, which is a tradition that my family does, so it was kind of fun to carry that over with my husband's family. And just had a chill day. I always watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Thanksgiving Day Parade on NBC every year, but I actually slept in this year and we forgot to set it to record. So I caught like the last hour and a half maybe of it, but didn't get to see the whole thing. The first part is usually my favorite because that's when the Broadway shows perform in front of Macy's before the parade actually gets there. So I missed all that. But then I realized that it re-aired later when we turned the TV back on to start watching football. And so we were able to record it then so I could at least watch it later at night. So I did still get to carry on my tradition of watching the parade. Just not at the normal time that I do. But still, it made it Thanksgiving that I saw the parade. So that was Thanksgiving. My family, they all get together and do Thanksgiving. I switch off with them every other year. We will do Thanksgiving with my family one year, which means that we will spend Christmas Day with Greg's family that year, and then we swap. So we'll do, Christmas Day with my family and Thanksgiving with his. So every other year we swap. My family gets together every year, and there's like 30 to 40 people every year. It's my mom's side of the family. My mom has 4 brothers, so it's their families. My grandmother, she's always there. I'm one of 5 siblings. Most of them have kids. My cousins, they have kids. So it's a big group that gets together. And so they actually ended up getting a stomach bug from Thanksgiving. So we thought we had managed to avoid that because, we weren't there for Thanksgiving and it spread through the rest of the family like wildfire. There's an email chain going around tracking who got hit with it. And then, so I thought we were in the clear, and then yesterday Eric got sick. So I could have an impending stomach bug, but hopefully not. From a result of the Thanksgiving holiday. I really think that there's just something going around in the area. Daycare was having some illnesses too, so I'm just hoping to avoid the majority of it, but we'll see. But during that Thanksgiving week, I actually got to take some more of my piling up vacation days. After Christmas, I'll be done with them. Of course, it'll be the new year because then I have next year's vacation to plan. But I am enjoying taking vacation time around the holidays this year. I took Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off. I sent the kids to Eric had school and then sent Tilda to daycare. So at least one of those days I was able to treat myself to a movie. So I went to see Murder on the Orient Express, which is a really great movie, especially if you're into Agatha Christie or murder mysteries or anything like that. I really enjoyed it. But the theater that I went to see it at is called Movie Tavern. And they're one of the theaters where they've got reclining seats and a full menu and a full bar. and because it is a place where you can order food and have a meal while you're watching a movie, they actually have lights that are on through the movie just a little bit. I mean, it's not distracting. It's just there's a little bit of light in this theater that you wouldn't have in other theaters. So it's a great situation for knitting. I am practicing my knit without looking. I'm not super good at it. I'm okay with it on like bigger yarn and bigger needles. I cannot do socks yet because they're too little. I can't feel the yarn enough to be able to knit it without seeing it. So anyway, I got to go to the theater, watch that, get some knitting done. And then otherwise I pretty much cleaned the house. So I got to clean my carpet, which was nice. But yeah, so not a whole lot went on in the last couple of weeks. I did do some crafting, so I do have some content to share. So that's always good. Oh, and then I did do some binge watching during that time too. So I had not seen Stranger Things, season 1 or season 2. So I watched both seasons in a weekend, which was a lot of long hours and not very much sleep, but totally worth it. And then I also got turned on to Peaky Blinders because a coworker / friend of mine is really into that. She actually is working on a huge cross stitch project, and I'll link to her Tumblr that she has for her cross stitch in the show notes. And yeah, she's just really into Peaky Blinders, and I thought, I'll give it a try. So really good show. It's definitely adult content. It is steamy and full of language, so it's got to be your style of show, but I really enjoyed it. So if you're into that kind of thing, definitely recommend it. So that's really what I've done. But let me get into some knitting content. I do have a couple of finished objects. The first one I can't actually show you, so I'm going to have to put a picture up here. I was working on a pair of socks for my sister, which I was, last time I had finished the first sock minus the heel, and I think I'd made it like 6 inches or so into the leg of the second sock. So those are done. I did put in the afterthought heel. I thank you to everyone who commented last time about the, oh goodness, I've forgotten the name of it. Kirby Werby. Okay, so thank you to everyone who commented last time about the Kirby Werby tutorial. It is what I used and it was very helpful. No issues at all getting that afterthought heel in. So, and they fit my sister. They look great. I used Felici Candy Shop for the socks. I did really basically just a tube, nothing fancy. It was just a vanilla. I did a 2x2 ribbing on the top, the afterthought heel. I do an asymmetric toe because I think that fits my foot better. It looks like it fit my sister's foot better too, so it turned out to be a good decision. The yarn that I used for the heel and toe is from the mini set that I got from Sweet Georgia. It was one of the rainbow colors. So that is done. That has been received, and so my sister has that. So like I said, I don't have it, but you'll have seen a picture of it now. Uh, Last time I was also working on another sock for myself. I don't have it as a finished object, but I have it as a half finished object. So that is this one here. So this is Dragonfly Fibers, Stole Christmas. It is you can see it's a red and green and white striping pattern. I used another Sweet Georgia Mini for the asymmetric toe, my hair hanging off of it. So that's the asymmetric toe there. And then I will cut in an afterthought heel. So last time I was this far, I'd basically just done the ribbing. So now I've done the rest of the sock. I have not started the second sock. I will, but I got distracted by my next finished object, which is this hat. So this is, I don't know how to say it. I think it's Cool Hoss hat by Jared Flood of Brooklyn Tweed. The yarn that I used is Quince & Co. Lark in the slate color. This is also what I'm using for my cubic scarf, which I haven't made any progress on, and I actually stole some yarn from to make this because I wanted to get going on this one. This is going to be a Christmas present for my older brother. I have him in the name exchange this year. He is notoriously hard to buy for because he's very specific about what he wants, but usually something he really wants, he's already gotten it for himself. So, so he does like, gadgety things, and he likes board games. He's really into board games. So I'm actually just going to get him a gift card so that he can get what he wants and include the hat with that. So I worked on that. Now this hat, it's a lot of fun to do. It was a bit tough to get started on because I don't want to give anything away about the pattern because it is a paid for pattern, but it's a lot of cabling. It's just twist cabling, but it's not what I'm used to doing. There are some tricks that I can do with 1x1 cabling typically, which you can do without using a cable needle. And I'll link some videos that I use because I found them really helpful tricks. But basically, one of the twists is you knit two together, but then you don't actually slip them both off the needle, and you knit the next one. I can't remember. That's why I'll link the videos because they're really cool tricks. But they didn't work with this because of the way that these are twisted and because of the stitches around them. So I did have to use a cable needle, and I kept being annoyed because it would slip out, and I wasn't enjoying the process of cabling with a cable needle. But I did find, because I had just finished working on these, I had my 9-inch circulars hanging around. So I started using my 9-inch circular needles as my cable needle, and that worked out perfect. So it was big enough that I didn't lose it every time I put it down, and it was bendy, so it would like stay in place. It could hang and not slip right out. So that worked out really well for me. So I think next time I do a cabling project, I'll definitely be reaching for the 9-inch circulars. So I'm trying something new again because I always do when I record. I'm actually using my front camera on my old phone that I'm recording on, and I keep looking at the counter instead of the camera. So when you see my eyes going sideways, that's why. I don't know why. It's like it's moving, so it's catching my eye. But so I'll work on that. Okay, so works in progress. I'm doing it again. Works in progress. I have made some progress on my Zadie sweater. So this was what I was working on in the theater. I actually worked on it in the car a couple of times, which is a big step for me. I don't do a ton of car knitting, but I'm learning to medicate myself and, and prepare for it. So I have made not a ton of progress. I made way more progress last time. It's a big sweater body though. So this is where I was at last time. I've put on a couple of inches. I'm actually only I think 2 inches from finishing the length of the body. And then it'll be joining the sleeves and doing the yoke. So it is progress. It felt like a lot more before I took it out and actually looked at the progress keeper. Sorry, dropped my bag. I'm keeping it in my Mrs. Brown's bags, which, as I mentioned in the past, is appropriate because the Zadie sweater is the Off Our Needles knit along, which is what the Grocery Girls did for the summer for their Craftsy show. And obviously Mrs. Brown's bags is Jody of the Grocery Girls. So it's apropos to use that project bag. I actually have a Crochet Whip this time. I'm going to put a picture up here. This is a kit that I bought off of Craftsy a couple of months ago. It was a while ago. That I'm finally getting around to making. Hopefully I'll actually be done before Christmas, but I don't know if I will. I've got a lot, in my queue before Christmas, so we'll see if I get to it. But I am making this for the Crafty Mama podcast. She is having a holiday decor make-along. I don't know what she's called it. I'm actually a couple episodes behind on her podcast as well as several other podcasts. I don't know. I'm really behind on podcasts at the moment. But I'm pretty sure she's supposed to be a make-along. And it's just any holiday decorations for your house. And so I thought this wreath would be appropriate. So it motivated me to actually start working on it. So I haven't done much. I have 2 Christmas light bulbs. So that's it so far. The kit comes with a bunch of different colors. You'll have seen them in the picture, but basically they just give you a ball of acrylic for the various colors, and you make the lights. Obviously I'm going to have a ton of yarn left, so I'll probably find something else to do with it. I thought maybe a garland might be kind of fun to make, so I don't know. We'll see what I end up continuing to do. But for now, that's what I've got. So it's been fun to work on. I have not been very good historically at following crochet patterns. I am definitely a self-taught crocheter. I couldn't even crochet to save my life until I switched my knitting style to continental. Then I was holding the yarn in my left hand, so I knew how to tension in my left hand, and then I could crochet. Before that, I could not crochet at all. I couldn't tension yarn, so I couldn't crochet because I couldn't get it to do anything. So I have not really been taught how to crochet, so reading patterns, in general I can get it, but it's really the figuring out where a round is supposed to start. I've always been pretty bad at doing that. So I think that it's going better with this. I've made a concentrated effort to figure that out, watch tutorials, make sure that I'm doing it right. So these are going much better than crochet projects I've gone in the past. So hopefully I will have that finished before the holiday. And if not, and it's not the end of the world, I'll at least have it for next year's decoration. But my last whip is my stitching, which you have seen, but I really have been focusing on it a lot in the past couple, I guess it's the past month or so now. So I am doing a year-long stitch along. That is a kit that Clouds Factory put together. It is Fabulous Women in History. And I have showed this progress before, but I have finished at least 2 squares further than I was last time. So it's on my Q-snap, which I've also raved about before. And let me show you this. So that is my needle minder, basically just holding my needles that I'm using. And it is the TARDIS from Doctor Who, and this comes from A Needle Runs Through It, who makes some really fun needle minders. She's also really fun to follow on Instagram. Opera Jo, or Joanna from Stitching the High Notes, is the one who turned me onto them because she posted her TARDIS, and I was like, I have to have that. so I picked that up. She also does like stitch markers, progress keepers. I think that I don't remember if I've shown them, but I think I have. I have like a sheep front and a sheep butt progress keeper set. And that comes from the Needle Runs Third as well. So they're a lot of fun. You can check them out on Etsy. But this right here is the square that I was working on last time. So I finished Harriet Tubman and Susan B. Anthony. And then I did the next square, which is right here. And it is Amelia Earhart, and I don't remember who the other person is. Frida Kahlo, I don't actually know much about her. But I believe she's a painter, as evidenced by the square. And then I'm working on this month, which is actually August. I'm on the August square. I don't remember who it is. I don't remember. All I have so far is the banner and the dress anyway. I think it's something to do with studying the brain. I don't remember who it is. I'll put it down in the bottom. And then the one next to it I know is Rosa Parks. So that is the August square that I'm working on now. So I am, if you're keeping track, August, September, October, November, December, I am 5 months behind. And August, October, November. Oh, I'm 4 months behind, and then December comes out tomorrow. So I will be 5 months behind at that point. I'm not going to finish this by the end of the year. It's not going to happen. But I am still enjoying it. I do want to finish it, early into next year. If she does another year-long stitch-along, I would be interested in picking up another one. So it's been a lot of fun. I really have loved working on it. And and making some progress. Finally, it did sit there and languish without much progress for quite a while. And I think that is it for my whips. Obviously I have some things that, are whips, but aren't actually getting any work done on them. But c'est la vie. So the giveaway, I announced last podcast, episode 13. It is a YouTube giveaway that I asked you to comment on the video itself and tell me something that you were thankful for in the year of 2017. The prize is the skein of yarn, which is a one-of-a-kind colorway from Candy Coated Yarn, who is Dawn of Crafty Mama. Crafty Mama Designs, I think, is her Etsy shop name. So I picked a winner. There were 16 people who commented, so thank you to everyone who commented. So the winner is Lisa Marie, and her comment is, "I'm so thankful for my wonderful husband and our life together. Since I met him, he has always been there for me. I'm thankful for my kids and my dog. I'm thankful that I'm healthier than I was last year, and so glad that I dedicated my time and energy to becoming as healthy as I can be." So congratulations, Lisa. I will get that sent off to you. If you can contact me and let me know your address. If you can reach out to me either on Ravelry or Instagram, then we'll connect that way. Okay, so I'm going to end with something that Lucky Jenny Knits, Jenny of the Lucky Jenny Knits podcast tagged me in. It's called the Knit Life Survey. So she tagged me and other podcasters or shop owners or independent people to answer a bunch of questions. She answered them herself on one of her more recent episodes. I will link to her podcast below. The idea is that you tag someone, you answer the questions, they answer the questions, and then tag additional people. So I will tell you who I'm tagging first. Certainly by no means feel obligated to do this, or don't feel obligated to do this. It's just something fun if you would like to. I'd be interested in knowing what your answers are. So you're supposed to tag five people. So the first two I'm going to tag are Sal and Al of the Wool Slayers podcast. I would also like to tag Jamie of the I'll Knit If I Want To podcast. Victoria of Victoria Knits podcast, and Kim of the Kim Smith Happy, who is the owner of Alter Knit Universe over in the UK. So I will, tag them, put all of their information below so you can check them out as well. And if they would like to, they can answer these questions themselves. So the Knit Life survey. It's a pretty lengthy list. If you're not interested, feel free to turn it off. But this is just kind of, some interesting information, hopefully interesting information about me and my knitty life. So the first question is, what sparked your interest in knitting? I think probably what the initial spark was is I just saw my grandmother knitting and I was interested to learn as well. So I asked her to teach me and she did. I think what re-sparked it later when I really got interested in more knitting was that a cousin of mine, whose name is Hazel, she came to something, I don't remember what it was, maybe Thanksgiving or something, something that we were at together, and she was wearing a sweater that she had knit herself, which I thought was pretty cool. Having only knit Christmas stockings at that point, I thought it was pretty neat to have something that you made that you could wear around like that. So I think she's definitely somebody who pushed me into expanding my interest in knitting. She's actually the one who told me about Ravelry. It popped up in my Facebook memories like 2 days ago that I think 6 years ago, maybe, she told me about Ravelry. And so thanks to her, I'm on Ravelry. How and when did you learn to knit? So I initially learned to knit when I was 11 or 12. We got iced in at a holiday my grandmother taught me. But then she re-taught me a few years later, probably when I was about 15. And she taught me how to knit a Christmas stocking. So, what is my favorite cast on method? My go-to is longtail. I always, to make sure I don't run out of a tail, I always wrap my yarn around at least 10, maybe 20 times, and then I use that to count out the number of stitches that I need. And since I've started using that trick, I don't run out of yarn as often. So it's definitely my favorite method. I like other methods. It depends on the project. I really actually like a provisional cast on because I find it handy to be able to use with certain techniques. So I enjoy doing that method, but my go-to is longtail. My favorite type of knitting design element. This really varies by the project. So some people, the examples they list are brioche, lace, cables, color work. It really depends for me. I prefer whatever it is about the project that I like. That didn't make any sense, really. I just like doing different techniques. I don't have one that I go to. When I'm doing brioche, it's a lot of fun to do brioche. When I'm doing lace, it's a lot of fun to do lace. So there's not one that I gravitate toward more than any other. I enjoy doing different techniques. My favorite project I've ever knit, I brought this as an example. This is definitely my favorite project I've ever knit. This is the baby blanket that I made for my daughter that she refuses to use, but I still love. So it is elephants. It has a couple snags in it, unfortunately. But it's elephants, and it's knit in bamboo pop, which is a really great soft yarn. It's a lot of color work. It's knit in the round and then steeked, which is just a fun technique to use. It's backed with minky, so it's got a great weight to it, and it's very soft. I love to use this blanket, even if Tilda doesn't. So this is definitely my favorite project that I've ever knit. And then the next question is, how many projects are in your Ravelry queue? First of all, I don't use Ravelry the way I'm supposed to. If I find a project that I want to knit, I usually put it in my library. I don't usually use the favorites or the queue as often. I just save everything to my library. So I just checked, and I have 182 patterns in my library. So some of those I actually have already knit. Probably not more than a dozen, so it's probably like 170. What is my favorite weight of yarn to work with? So I really like working with DK. I don't work with it a ton, but I find that sometimes worsted is just too heavy, though it does make for quicker knits. And then fingering weight, makes for really slow knits. But it has obviously a really great drape. So I find that DK is a great in between. DK socks are so fast. And it's a really nice weight. So I enjoy working with DK. My first knitting project, as I mentioned, is family Christmas stockings. My grandmother taught me all of the knitting techniques that I knew by teaching me how to make the Christmas stockings. So I did some increases, knit and purl, a Kitchener stitch. I learned all of that on that first project. The longest time I have a half-finished object in hibernation. What is it and when did you cast on and do you still want to finish it? So I pulled this one out as well. So this is definitely my longest hibernated project. I will say that the baby blanket, that one did take me a long time too. It hibernated for a good long while, probably a year and a half or so before I got back into knitting it. But, and this is actually a crochet project, but this is the Oceana shawl. I started this looking at my Ravelry project page in February 2014. So, so this one's going on 4 years. Since making the bulk of the progress, I mean, I've probably made up to like here within a fairly short amount of time. It was my project that I was working on dedicated for a while. But since then, it's one of those shawls that grows longer and longer each time that each row it just grows, so they just get bigger. So each row takes longer to get through. So I find myself not motivated to work on it because there isn't really an end in sight. You just kind of keep going until you decide it's the size that you want. I don't know if I want to finish it. I love the yarn. The yarn is a silk, and I'll link what it actually is. Oh, I can tell you. It's Himalaya yarn, Maharaja silk, and I love the color, and I love the way that it's pulling, and it's really a gorgeous shawl. So I'd love to finish it. I just don't particularly ever want to work on it. So I refuse to frog it. Because I honestly don't know what else I would do with the yarn because it really is just so perfect for this project. It's a lace weight, which I don't do much work with, so I don't think that I have any other projects that it could be lined up for. But I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever finish it. So we'll see, I guess. What is the largest project you've ever knit? So the largest project I ever knit is the garter stitch blanket by Elizabeth Zimmerman. It is a really big blanket that is pieced together. I showed it in my episode 1. If you care to go back to episode 1. I knit it in a marble chunky yarn, I believe. And I love that blanket. I use it all the time. It is huge, and it took a long time, but it was a really, really cool construction because it's just garter stitch, but you like turn corners and you piece it together in a cool way. So I really like that project, but definitely the biggest. So what is the worst and just overall bad, didn't work out thing you ever knit? So this was a hard one for me because the way that I knit, if I make a mistake, I may frog it and start over, but I usually don't just give up on it. So any horrible mistakes, I'll rip it out and restart it. So they don't really last in my mind as what it was that was horrible about them. Like I remember when I was making my husband's Christmas stocking, I realized after I made it that I made the cuff twice as long as it should have been. So I guess that's probably the worst one because it was done. The cuff is the first thing that you do on that project. So The cuff was, yeah, it was twice as long. And by twice as long, I mean significantly. It's like 4 inches bigger than it was supposed to be. And the whole thing about the family Christmas stockings is that they all match. Not exactly, they're all slightly different. They're all handmade. But they're basically the same. They have a white cuff, it's a red stocking, they have the name in it. So the fact that his cuff was twice as long was definitely noticeable. So I did have to, what I ended up doing was, I picked up the stitches and then I cut off the excess, and then I bound it off or reknit the top of it and bound it off, which is the opposite direction of how it normally is because it's cuffed down. That meant I had a bind off at the top, and I was not very good at binding off at the time. I didn't do a lot of knitting. I didn't know there were different types of bind offs. So it's certainly much tighter than it should be, and it makes it very hard to fit anything into it. It's definitely tighter than all the other stockings. What is my favorite kind of project to make? I don't really have a favorite. There's not a favorite kind of project that I gravitate toward. If I had to pick one, I'd probably say garments. I do like having things that are really wearable like that, especially kid garments because they're so much faster. So I think of everything that I've knit, probably some of my favorites are things that I've knit for my kids. So sweaters, my son's alpaca cardigan that I made for him. So I think I would probably say kid garments are my favorite. Favorite type of fiber to work with? I would probably say, I don't know. I don't know that I have a favorite type of fiber. I like trying out lots of different things. My go-to is probably superwash merino. That's what most of my yarn is. I really do like the bamboo yarn. It's, like I said, it's so soft, and it's durable. It is a little bit splitty, but I still really liked working with it. Are you a self-proclaimed yarn snob? I would say probably yes. I don't have a problem working with acrylic. I don't tend to because most of my favorite yarns are like indie dyed yarns. I think that they're really pretty, and you just don't end up with very many pretty options when you're looking at acrylic yarn. I also do really like to have a nice feeling yarn. So I wouldn't even say I'm a yarn snob because there's some really, expensive and snob-worthy yarns out there that are too rustic for me that I don't particularly like working with rustic yarns. But yeah, probably. Other people would probably call me a yarn snob. So what is my dream knitting retreat or fiber festival to attend? Okay, so I'm going to answer both of those. I didn't even know it was my dream knitting retreat until it came up, but I'm going on it next year. Flying Fibers put together a knitting retreat over to Scotland. So I am joining that retreat. I'm incredibly excited, and I think that it will be a trip of a lifetime. I have not gone overseas since my early 20s. I went to Australia for a month when I was 21. 20 or 21. 20. It was right before my 21st birthday. So I went over to Australia for a month. That's really the extent of any traveling that I've done especially outside of the United States. So I'm really excited for this Scotland trip and the fact that it's knitting related. I would love to go on a knitting cruise sometime. It's tough though because I think that I could probably get a roommate out of my sister. I think my sister would go with me, but there is no way that her husband would let her go on a cruise without him because he loves cruising. So if he's going to come, then my husband would come, and then it's not a knitting cruise. Then it's everybody's cruising, and I would be knitting and not be with everyone else. So I've got figure out exactly how to do it, but I would love to go on a knitting cruise. But the Fiber Festival, sorry, I'm giving 3 answers here. But the Fiber Festival that I want to attend, I do want to go to Rhinebeck, and I am planning on doing that next year. So hopefully, it's not that far away from me. I mean, I'm in Pennsylvania. Rhinebeck's up in New York. It's just not that far. So I'm gonna make it happen. Oh, and total aside, but I am actually going to Vogue Knitting Live in January. So if you're going there, let me know. It'd be really fun to meet some people. But I am planning to go on Saturday and stay over through Sunday. I'm going to I'm going to attend some lectures. I signed up for one by Stephen West and then one by Jeri Robinson-Lawrence, who you should check out. She is actually the owner of my favorite local yarn store, Flying Fibers, and she's going to be talking about, I think, sheep breeds. I don't remember exactly what, but I'm looking forward to her lecture. And then, check out the marketplace. So I'm looking forward to Vogue Knitting Live. So if you're going to be there in New York, let me know. What is the oldest yarn in my stash? So this is another one. I brought a visual. This is definitely the oldest yarn in my stash. So this is the red that is used for the Christmas stockings. So this is a giant ball of red heart, super saver, that I use for Christmas stockings. So I think I bought like 3 of these. So I am down to my last one. But yeah, this is definitely my oldest. This is the yarn that I purchased before I even knew what a stash was. So I've definitely had it the longest. Are you a gifty knitter or a selfish knitter? I am a selfish knitter. I don't know. I like to knit for myself. Obviously, I mean, I did just knit socks for my sister. Not for any particular reason other than she said she wanted socks and I wanted to try knitting some self-striping socks. So, so I made her socks. And then I've got the hat for my brother, but that's for Christmas. So it's not like for, I guess Christmas counts. So yeah, I'm more of a selfish knitter. I have not gifted a lot of my knitting. What do you like to watch or listen to while you knit? Now, I am one of those, if I'm sitting, I'm knitting types. I like to just pick it up anytime I can. So I will watch or listen to anything. Usually, if I'm by myself, then I'll put on knitting podcasts, and I'll knit along to those. If I'm just hanging out and watching TV with my husband or with my kids, then I'm just knitting to whatever is on. And I do like to listen to podcasts too, if I'm just not in the mood to watch something. I have talked about some of my favorite knitting podcasts, but let me list off a few. And apologies if you know that I watch you and I'm not mentioning you. But some of my first ones that I watched were Legacy Knits, Inside Number 23, I'll Knit If I Want to, the Stranded podcast, and then some more recent ones, Victoria Knits, Sal and Al, the Wool Slayers, A Historian Knits, The Professor Knits, there's a lot of knits, Kim Smith Happy, which I mentioned, Knit All the Things with Cara, Bakery Bears are a great podcast to watch. I love Dairyland Knits, though Josh doesn't put content out very often, but I love what he puts out. And I'm sure there's a ton more. Honestly, you can look at what my subscriptions are, and that's who I watch. So I'm usually behind on a lot of them. Some of them I binge watched and caught up on them, and then I watched the new episodes. Some of them I've gone through some of their early episodes. Oh, Spicy Homemaker with Melissa. She's one that I'm still watching some of the early episodes. So I've watched a couple of the newer ones, but I'm trying to catch up to the backlog. Naughty Nitwits. Gosh, there's so many of them. So those are, podcasts are probably my favorite thing to sit and knit to. I will say, and I've mentioned this before, I do like to watch them on 1.5 times speed because there's so many and I want to get through them. I don't want to miss any of the content, so I don't want to fast forward through them, but listening to them a little bit sped up does mean I fit more in a shorter period of time. Do I prefer wood or metal needles? I prefer metal needles. I like the point that you can get on a metal needle, which is harder to find on wood. I also find that, especially with smaller needles, I bend the wood needles, like DPNs especially, for the smaller sizes. Is there a pattern or project that you've knit more than one time? So obviously I've knit the Christmas stockings pattern a lot. I've actually modified it a few times just to make it easier for myself. I'm about to make another modification because I really want to do a toe up version so that I don't have to know the name that's going in the cuff before I can start it. But that's obviously the pattern I've done the most. Outside of that, I am planning to knit the Flax Light again. I made one for my daughter. I'd like to make one for my son. But really I haven't repeated a ton of patterns. And then just for fun, do you have any other hobbies? Yes, I do sing. I sing in an a cappella group called Bonus Track. We are actually having a concert, and this is our first put on a show concert, not been invited to sing at a retirement community or a private event or something like that. This is our first. We're selling tickets. People are coming to see us kind of show, which is very exciting. It's a holiday show. We're doing it with a group from Greenbelt, Maryland called the Chromatics. They're a really great group. They are incredibly smart. At least half of them are, physicists or of something. So they're very fun and clever. So we are doing a show with them. I will put details below because we are trying to promote the heck out of this thing so that people show up. So most of you, I'm assuming, will not be close enough to be able to come. But if you are, it'd be really fun to see you. What is my favorite snack? This rotates like crazy. So I tend to latch onto something and just, go crazy with it. And then move on to something else. So I go through phases. So my current phase, I don't really have a snack at the moment. Drink wise though, I am addicted to Arnold Palmer Lights. So half iced tea, half lemonade. That's been a phase for most of the year. So I'm not sure if that one's gonna actually get phased out. But I love that stuff. My favorite color is green. Do I have any pets? Yes, I have a dog named Millie, who I've talked about before. She is a boxer. She is 10 years old, and I've had her since she was a little puppy. And last but not least, coffee or tea. So I actually came to both late in life. I grew up Mormon. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm not a member anymore. So I do drink coffee or tea now, but I didn't until my mid-20s, I think. So I drink both. I enjoy both. I think that if I gravitate toward one more than the other, it's probably tea. So that's it. Sorry if that was really long. I'm going to try and edit some of those answers so that my ramblings aren't quite so random as they were. I kind of forgot about one section. So normally I do an acquisition section. I do have some acquisitions. And before I move on with the sentence, spoiler alert, if you are watching with young children who are into the Christmas spirit and don't want to have anything ruined for them, pause and let them leave the room right now because I'm going to reveal something. So for Christmas, what my husband and I do is we actually stuff our own stockings. We decided, I think last year or the year before, it's so hard to come up with small gifts that aren't just a waste of money just to have something to open in a stocking. So we decided that we would get our own things that we knew we would want or need, and do that for stocking stuffers. I actually love it because it means that I get to get things that I actually want. So I have a bunch of things that I have purchased for my stocking that have come. I am trying not to open them just so that, Christmas is still 25 days away since it's now after midnight and it's definitely the first now. So I'm trying to not, remember exactly what I got so that, they're a little bit special when I do open them. So I do have some of those. I also have, I can't believe I almost forgot about this. I also purchased an advent calendar, which I mentioned last time, but it actually has arrived. So I got it from Adelaide Cottage. It is these individually wrapped individually wrapped minis, and number one, right here. So I get to open this tomorrow. Technically I could open it now, but I think I'll wait. But they're very, it's very cutely packaged, and so I have those to open. But the one acquisition that I got that I really can show you is a little tripod, because I have decided that for December, I'm going to try my best to do Vlogmas. I've never done a daily vlog before. I've never tried to put together a shorter video. The one vlog that I did was my yarn crawl. So that was a ton of fun to do, and I really am hoping that I can, create the content like that I'm wanting to do. So I got a little tripod to help me do that, because it's kind of hard to catch all the little videos that you want to, especially if it's like something of me doing something like cooking or working on a project or something like that. It's certainly going to be a lot easier to do with a little tripod. So that is my last acquisition to hopefully take part in Vlogmas. So I said it out loud so that you guys heard me say it. I'm going to try and commit to it. So we'll see how I do. And that really is everything. So thank you so much for joining me and listening to my Knitty ramblings. And I will see you next time. Bye.